Well, hi everyone. I'm working on my drive shaft here from my 2007 Dodge Dakota. Both the U-joint part of it and the constant velocity part of it were seized. I called Dodge. They wouldn't sell the parts. They wanted $800 for a new drive shaft. Called a couple other places. They rebuilt drive shaft with $400. So I just kind of looked online and I was able to get a new constant velocity joint. The U-joint I ended up getting for this 2007 Dodge is a 5-153X Moog. Got that on eBay. I think it was $12. I believe this was $38, and the numbers for that are right here. I don't know if you can see that. So that came pretty quick, and I'm just going to start assembling it. As you can see, I've already got the new U-joint in there. We did that yesterday. Just cleaned everything up. We actually have a bead blaster here, so it's kind of nice. I just taped off the end here, so you just gotta watch. You don't want to get sand in places that you don't want it. Masked off the splines here. Cleaned up the boot. So what I want to do right away here is I noticed that there's no gasket for this half with the rubber boot. You can see the rubber boot's missing here. I'm gonna put a little bit of ultra blue silicone, just a real thin smear here. I'm just gonna line up the bolt holes with these little taper pins. We've got these pins here that we use for machinery. So the bolt holes, and then I'll clamp them with these 5/16 bolts so the silicone dries. Then what I'll do is I'll put this onto the stub end of the drive shaft. So I'll show you that when I get there. Yeah, so like I say, I just put a real thin smear of silicone, dropped the pins in. This plate only goes on one way on that joint there. Drop the pins in there to line the bolt holes out, and then just put 4 5/16 bolts, snug them down. We'll give that silicone a couple minutes here to set up. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll load the grease from this end here, and then we'll shove the shaft through. We'll shove this end of the shaft through, and I'll put a little bit of this silicone rubber lube here to lube up the rubber. We'll make sure that we have the clamp on it. There's a little clamp that you tighten down afterwards. I think as far as the bolts go, when I go to put it on the truck, I'm not going to use these Allen head bolts. They look good and everything, but they're hard to work with. I think what I'll do is I'll just clean off the OEM bolts. They've got a 8mm 6-point end on them. Pretty easy to work with. These are the U-joint end bolts. I'll clean them up. And okay, well, I'll just wait for a few minutes for that silicone to just set a little bit, and we'll get back at her here. Okay, so what I went ahead and did is I put some of that silicone lube on the rubber there, made sure that I got the clamp on there, started it partial way, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get the grease in around the bottom of this, and then of course I'll put some on top afterwards. The other cap here, the end cap, actually has a gasket, so don't worry too much about that. After we get the drive shaft through the constant velocity joint, we'll put this snap ring on, and then we can put the end cap on. But right now I've got the shaft in there, so the light's not very good, but you can see the shaft there. That way the grease won't pour out the bottom. And I'll load her up, and then we'll go from there. So I've got it all packed in there. I noticed right away it's got to be a molybdenum base grease that they give you. Molybdenum's got a very low coefficient of friction and carries high loads. You can out buy the same stuff. This is moly coat paste. We'll use it for thread lube. Just gotta watch. It'll change your torque value quite a bit because the coefficient of friction is quite low. But that's what she is. She's a moly based grease. I'll get the drive shaft through it. There she is. We'll put the snap ring on it, and we'll get the other end cap pushed on there with the gasket. So we'll get to that and we'll go from there. So you're going to need some snap ring pliers. I just grabbed the ones that work from this kit here. You can reverse these ones if you're going out or in, but anyways, that's what we need. That's what we're going to use. Okay, well, we get the wrong snap ring with the kit here, but I do have the old one. I'll just grab that here and I'll be right back. Okay, well, I just cleaned up the old snap ring. The one they gave us is too big for whatever reason, so let's put this one on. Okay, that one fits, so that's good. Okay, well, I just pulled the bolts out that we had in there to pinch it while the silicone was setting. I put the little gasket on the blind end of this shaft, and I'm going to put the cap on here. I'll use these little taper pins that we have here just to line the bolt holes up. Just works well. You can see how these ones are perfect. And then I'll throw the bolts in there and just pinch it all together till we're ready to install it. Okay, well, I've got it all compressed here. I suppose you could do all that under the truck, but I'm kind of lazy, so I choose to do it here at the bench where it's nice and easy to work on. We're full of grease. Everything's clean in there. Last thing you want to do is get anything in there, obviously, because it's never coming out, so you want it to be clean. We're clamped together. I'm going to let that silicone probably dry. I'm not putting this on for a couple days. I'm going to tighten this clamp down now. I don't really have the right tool. I know what it looks like. I've used one before. I've just got the vice grips clamped on there. And then what you're going to want to do is with a pair of side cutters, you're going to want to catch it on either side of that buckle there, and just allow the vice grips to, you'll back up the vice grips with the side cutters and then pull on this, and once you get it pulled tight, this tab will bend over between these two ears, and we'll push the two ears in with a punch, give them another little bit with a hammer, and then that should be done. We just need enough snug on there to seal that rubber, so obviously moisture doesn't get in there. So I'll do that and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got the clamp pulled tight. I've got the long end of the tab doubled back over, and now I'm just going to go in and we'll fold over these little tabs here and tap them down with a hammer tight, cut off the tag end, and that part will be done. Okay, so what I did, I got the tabs bent over and I've got the vice grips clamped across that buckle, and all I'm going to do is work this back and forth until it work hardens and breaks off, and it should break off nice and clean. So I'm going to do that and then we'll have a look at it. Okay, well that worked pretty good. She, after about 20 times back and forth, she sheared off nice and tight to the buckle, so shouldn't be whipping around when the old Dakota's turning her. So I think that's good for this end till we're ready to install it, and we'll get to the installation of the other end. Okay, well before I took all of this apart and changed the U-joint, I took this air scriber, and I don't know if you've seen these before. They make electric ones, they're cheap. They just have a carbide point, plug the air into them, they vibrate real quick and you can write on steel with it. I like using the scriber because I sandblasted it, and if you had a mark, just a white mark, I just filled in the scribe I made with the white paint. If you just had a mark on there, you'd sandblast it off and then you wouldn't know where it was, so the scriber is always nice. This drive shaft is balanced as a unit. Not sure if they balance it with the constant velocity joint on there or not. I'm thinking no, but I could be wrong. Someone could probably tell me if they do, but it's a new joint. I'm not going to balance the shaft again. So we want everything in here the same way it came out. So all these lines need to line up, and now I'll just snap the boot over. I put a little bit of this grease in there. Nothing special. This is a lithium based grease that we use in the electric motor bearings here. That's about all there is here, so it's ready to install in the truck. Okay, well, like I said at the start of the show here, my preference is to use the OEM bolts. I don't like Allen head bolts, pure and simple. These ones have Loctite on them. I've got to clean the threads on that, and I've got to clean the heads. The way I'm going to do that, I just got the bolt chucked into a cordless drill. We'll turn on the buffer here and give her a little bit of a root. Okay, well, it's good enough for assembly there. These all have had a little bit of Loctite on them from the factory. These are the starter bolts from this Dakota. Not sure. It's the first Dodge I've ever owned, and never really repaired a truck so much. I've got this Toyota Tacoma. I've never done anything to it. I'm not sure. This Dakota is pretty much, what have I done? Exhaust manifolds, brakes, starter, drive shafts, alternator. I'm sure there was a few other things I've had to do. Yeah, it's only got 90,000 kilometers on it, so I'm not sure. But it is what it is. I got to keep her going. That's the one I use to come out to work here. So, anyways, I think that's pretty much it. That drive shaft is ready to install. Maybe when I get to that point, I'll show you what I do to get prepped for that. But other than that, that's about it.